Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for our weekly news recap where we take a look at everything going on in the six scale world. And surprisingly, third party, pretty quiet this week. So we're not going to really touch base on them. But Hot Toys making some waves, starting with their summer exclusives. Right, usually these would be right around San Diego Comic Con and they'd be the con exclusives. But since Sideshow doesn't go there anymore, we're getting them as just Hot Toys exclusives, which I'm sure Sideshow is going to have on their show at some point. And of course, we finally got the reveals for Deadpool, so we're definitely going to talk about that. And I do want to talk about Inart because Inart, not to be left out of the conversation, dropped the unboxing video for their Harry Potter figure. So definitely want to talk about that. So it should be a relatively short video, but definitely a couple of things worth talking about. So let's start with the Deadpool. So let me pull up the pictures for Deadpool right now. Um, and look, again, big MCU fan, and I'm extremely hyped for this movie. I actually have my tickets already, so I'm going to go on Friday to see it next week. If you're everything that basically Kevin Feige and Marvel are bringing out right now and are saying, this is going to be a very important movie to the future of the MCU. And I think this, and hopefully, again, after that great trailer we got for Captain America: A Brave New World, um, I'm not ready to say the MCU is back on track, but there's an excitement and a buzz that I haven't felt for Marvel in a while, right? And I think the fact that they're leaning on these characters that have much more recognition and are a little bit more beloved is probably the smart thing to do. But looking at Deadpool, look, he looks fantastic. I think obviously it's a very similar suit, right? I think Marvel is being smart enough here to not um, it's if it's not broken, don't fix it. So I think they're keeping with the classic look. It's very comic accurate. I do like some of the things we're seeing here. For example, the gold accents on the gloves, the gold accents on the buckles, and the swords themselves are also gold blades. So I think that definitely adds a little something extra. I think it's awesome that he's coming with Dogpool, right? If you've seen any of the today, actually they dropped a video, the last trailer, which does tease and spoil some things. Not major. My feeling is there's a lot that we don't know about this movie at this point in time, which is why they're willing to release a trailer so a week out, essentially from release, and drop some of the that we're going to see. So I think there's still more to come. But after seeing that trailer, I'm pretty convinced that we're gonna get more figures from this than just Deadpool and Wolverine, right? So look, again, you get the interchangeable eyes. These menacing looking eyes, kind of the squinting looks, for some reason they're very they just look more intense and more aggressive. So I kind of like that look. And again, you can kind of see the hints of the gold on the buckles that definitely add a little bit of accent, and the texture on the mask is actually pretty cool. So I think overall it's a really great looking figure. If you have Deadpool 1 and if you have Deadpool 2, right? I think the Deadpool 2, I passed on that one. I have the original. Now look, the original one that I have, the pads are starting to become unglued. I think that's a very common thing with that first release. The second one, I'm not sure, but there was also, I think, talking to some fellow collectors, the original one seems to have that more vibrant red, while the second one from Deadpool 2 has the more muted color. So it's almost like a combination of things here. But look, I think it looks great. It's Deadpool. He's got the hand gestures. The posability on this, even something like this, right? I don't know that this is how I would choose to pose him. Um, but there's a lot of that Deadpool personality here, and that Ryan Reynolds personality coming out here. And the fact that you could potentially get poses like this, um, also combined with the big action poses and the flexibility that the suit seems to allow here, that's pretty interesting. I do like that they have the everybody was extremely hyped up when they saw the gunplay sequence in that first trailer. So it's nice to see that, as well as the imprinting on the muzzle, which we again see in that first trailer for a little bit. So it's nice that Hot Toys is able to kind of replicate that here. So look, I've got nothing negative to say here. For me, this is definitely going to be a day one pre-order. How can it not be, right? Again, maybe because I skipped that second one, it's a little bit more appealing, right? Even the ammo clips for the gun have the Deadpool logo on it. So just a lot to like. Now, I want to get to it because it looks like there are two things yet to be revealed, right? So one of the thoughts was, is are we getting an unmasked Ryan Reynolds sculpt? I don't know if they would choose to hide it if we were, unless there was some kind of licensing issue, but we've seen them showcase an unmasked sculpt before and just blur it out to give us as collectors the idea, yeah, you're gonna get something, you're gonna get the unmasked sculpt here. So it looks like it's gonna be maybe another sculpt. Who knows? I think we'll have to wait and see. And then obviously something that they don't want to reveal until the movie comes out. Kind of like Thor's lightning bolt from Love and Thunder. So look, we're 1 week out from the movie, so at some point, I'm sure once we see it, we're gonna recognize what that accessory is. But there is a special edition too, which includes um, a slight, well, let's call it a diorama base with the Deadpool and Wolverine logo and some rubble, and the Deadpool logo with the Wolverine claw marks. So I think that, look, I'm a sucker for dioramas. It's a small enough, subtle diorama that whether or not I got this, I don't think it'd be the end of the world. And then you get the gold guns, which at first I thought, is it, it goes in with the motif, the gold accents and the gold swords as well, so it kind of blends in with that. But I thought, are we actually going to get it? And then in today's trailer, you actually do see Deadpool using them. So I think without a doubt we're going to be getting these. So look, very exciting. The one thing I'm not excited about is this hasn't gone up for pre-order yet. um I can't imagine that it's going to be an exclusive, right? Or that it's going to be some kind of a limited release, just because of the popularity of the character. And if you got Wolverine, I think you're going to want to get Deadpool, especially if you don't have Deadpool or a 6 scale version of him. So I'm not sure what the holdup is on this. Uh, I'm guessing the special edition might be a little limited, but again, with the guns and with the ammo and the display base, is it enough to trigger kind of that exclusive queue system? I think we'll have to wait and see. I hope it isn't, right? I hope there's just some delay because they want to release it next week. And the only thing I can almost imagine is that this would be more, if you're ordering from Sideshow, more of a timed release, right? Like they did with the coins, or even what they did with Mighty Thor, right, where you could get the battle damage sculpt if you ordered within a certain time frame. And they've done that, right, with the Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries Obi-Wan, where you could get the box of lightsabers if you pre-ordered him early. So maybe something like that, but I think we'll have to wait and see. It is a little curious to me that we haven't gotten into that yet, right? And we haven't gotten the release, but look, it's coming. They released the pictures, so and I do think that to a point, while Marvel kept the design of the suit pretty standard, they did add enough accents where it definitely feels like an MCU version of the suit with just some extra lines. I know some people think it's busy, but it definitely fits in with the figures that we've gotten from the line and the characters we've gotten from Marvel. So pretty excited, and probably my most hyped up release of, well, it was my most hyped up release of the week, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But to keep going, right, the other thing we got, and before we get into the exclusives, let's get into the release that we got, which I'm also excited about. And I know maybe not many people are, but we got this guy from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We got the new Groot. So look, we've gotten a ton of Groots before. We've gotten the one from the first Guardians. We got a Groot from Guardians 2. Um, so he's a character we've gotten before a lot. Now, granted, he's gone through numerous changes, right? In the first one, he's a grown-up Groot. Probably my favorite iteration. If you had that figure in 6 scale, which I do, he's in one of the bookcases at this point. Um, he's massive, and there's just an impressive amount of detail, right? The younger Groot kind of had that issue where the leg would break off. I had the same thing happen to mine, and I glued it back on. But it's actually a really nice looking figure as well. But this one, um, look, I love the fact that you get the head with the vines and the roots kind of growing out. Very cool, and something you could display. But you also get the massive Groot, right? He's I do like that each version has been different. That it's not like, I'll complain a little bit, even though I do buy all of them. The Rockets are basically the same figure over and over. They barely change the sculpt. They actually don't even change the sculpt at this point. So you get like a different uniform or a different clothing set at this point. But Groot, Groot every time has been kind of a unique sculpt, and this one is a bulkier, almost like bodybuilding. Like he's a little more jacked. Um, so I kind of like that you could get all the Groots and it still not feel like it's just a repetition of the same character over and over again, right? So I loved Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Thought they did a good job kind of culminating that, bringing that story to a culmination for that original crew. And this, if you got the deluxe, you get that from the scene where Star Lord and Groot kind of uh, just lay waste to the bad guys in the ship. And I'm forgetting. Oh, I was gonna say the Grand Inquisitor, but that's Star Wars. Um, I'm just having a mental freeze right now, but it's a cool figure nevertheless. So it looks pretty awesome. So it's the first Guardians Volume 3 figure that we're getting released. And I can't wait to display him. This thing's gonna be massive. So very excited to get him in hand. And I think it turned out great, right? Again, I think being a figure that is not based on an actual person and is more of a CGI creation, it's easier for them to get it right. But Hot Toys knocked it out of the park. So just from the pictures, he looks great. So I'm expecting that to look great in hand. But now that we've got those out of the way, let's get into the exclusives. So again, it's Comic-Con season. Unfortunately, we know Sideshow doesn't go to the Comic-Cons anymore. But they did release 3 announcements, and these are just the first. We're going to be getting more. So let's start with the first one, which is this Joker Batman Imposter version. The second one that they've done, because they did one for it wasn't Batman versus Superman. I think it was the Suicide Squad, where they did the Joker again, Batman Imposter version for them. That one had a full cowl, right? And it was basically just a purple suit with green. Did have some highlights, like I think it said the Joker on it. I don't own that. To me, wasn't it wasn't something I needed in my collection. Doesn't mean I didn't think it looked cool, but not something I felt the need to add. And let me preface this, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not getting any of these. They're just not figures that I feel that I need to incorporate into the collection. And again, I'm thinking forward to, we've got Deadpool and Wolverine coming out. We all think we're going to get a Lady Deadpool variant. There's the Samurai Deadpool variant that we know of. And those are just 2. I think those are definitely coming. And then it's, how many Wolverine variants are we going to get from Hot Toys? What other characters do we not know are in the movie that Hot Toys might decide, we'll make some? Or Hot Toys is going to surprise us and just do 2 figures, right? Who knows with them? But I do think it's going to be a movie that's going to lend itself more to have other figures produced. So just forward thinking to that, right? And then you've got, starting next year, you're going to start having those Marvel productions come back in. So obviously we saw the trailer for Captain America, A Brave New World. I think we're going to get a good number of figures from that. And then you just keep getting properties, right? Thunderbolts at some point are going to come out. So the point is, I can't just lock into a piece like this. And this is an Artisan DX, which in itself is also interesting, but it's going to be pricey at that point. So do I really feel the need to pick up a figure like this? No, right? I don't at first look. And the other thing I'll say, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you these are horrible releases and why is Hot Toys doing it, because somebody out there, while I might not think they're for me, for some collectors, some of you out there, you're going to love these, right? So I think Hot Toys is making them, and there are people that are going to get them. They're limited. If this slows down production for some other figures, okay. As long as I get my other figures, I don't really mind too much. And I like that Hot Toys is doing something a little weird, right? This is a kit bash, right? For all intents and purposes, it's basically a repurposed Dark Knight DX suit, just colored in this wacky Joker theme where it looks like he spray painted it, which is cool because I did think the other Imposter was a little cleaner. So this one definitely looks a little wild. And then, of course, the sculpt, right? You are getting that artisan sculpt. And we know from the picture that Hot Toys released, from the backstage picture, that the artisan Joker, their first artisan release, is incoming at some point soon. So is it surprising that they're already reusing the sculpt? Look, I can forgive it. Exclusives tend to be sometimes, especially convention exclusives, which is what this would fall under, tend to be a little, I don't want to say bizarre, but something that's a little not necessarily a character that you need to have in your collection, right? Especially recently. So look, I think it looks great. What's there to say, right? That Joker sculpt with the hair. I am curious how that's going to look like at the end because we haven't seen an artisan release yet. But I do think it's an interesting looking figure. As far as the weapons, he's got the same exact weapons that we've gotten with the Joker. Right? He's got the batarang, which I don't think this is a real metal. I know the Batmans I have this is plastic. So look, it's an interesting display piece. I do think this is interesting that they recreated that scene with the grenades from the movie with the cape. Um, it's look, I can't fault it. I think it's just not for me, right? But if you're gonna get him, he looks he looks pretty good, right? If I'd be more inclined to get him if I wasn't so heavily invested in other lines. But yeah, so really probably the strangest of the releases, but I'm not the more I look at him, the more interesting he looks, right? And the more that I can understand why people would want to get him because I think if you're a Dark Knight fan, right, this isn't movie accurate. This is very much a I think a design decision that Hot Toys took to kind of showcase something just like that Imposter Joker version that they did before. But it looks cool, so can't fault it. And this is what I kind of expect from Hot Toys, right? Look at the neon version Iron Man figures, for example, that we got. Every convention we were getting a new one. So it's a repaint, it's something a little bit different. So if we keep that in mind, I don't think it's that bizarre, but it was something unexpected. Now, the next one was Clone Commander Scorch, right? From the Bad Batch. I have no idea who this is. I know that we got another Bad Batch release that was also exclusive, which you could see here. I think it was the Commander, or it was just the Commando. I thought it looked cool, but again, with no interest for Star Wars, really, there was just no reason for me to jump into it at this point. I do like the backpack that it's so bulky, and I like the light up feature on the helmet. Look, to me with clones, they're just repaint, so they're also not for me. But I can appreciate again that as an exclusive, right? Like I said, we've gotten Iron Man repaints as exclusives before. Um, so to get another clone that goes along with the previous release that was also an exclusive, it's again not surprising. But for me, not terribly exciting. But again, right, you're getting a Star Wars one, you're getting a DC, and then I mean, I guess you could argue that we got Marvel last week with the or 2 weeks ago with the chrome silver and red Iron Man suit. So maybe it's time to give Star Wars and some of the other ones a little bit of love. And that brings us to the last one, which I saw a lot of interesting comments on this one. So it's a Darth Maul hologram. It is a statue. It's a plastic fixed position, pre-posed diorama piece, essentially, right? It's a display piece. Um, do I think he looks cool? I do, right? I think they still got in a decent sculpt work on this. I know that somebody was saying this looks like it's just 3D printed, which maybe it is, right? But I like the line work. Yeah, it looks like a hologram. It looks like a full size hologram. Um, Again, not for me. But one of the things I do like about this, and I appreciate it, is Hot Toys takes chances because I think this reminds me of the open Mark 7 suit that was just literally a static piece that you could close some flaps, right? It wasn't really moving. So it's almost like the Star Wars version of that. If you have a lot of these in line, right? A lot of the figures, having a holographic USB powered light up Darth Maul might be pretty cool from a display perspective. So I appreciate that Hot Toys is taking some chances and giving us pieces like this that nobody else would really expect, right? Um, for me, again, I just appreciate that Hot Toys is taking some chances. It's easy, I think, to get figures, and that's their bread and butter, right? Those figures, we've gotten great diorama pieces with them. So this is definitely something that was a little unexpected, a static piece, right? Hot Toys, we don't get Hot Toys for statues, but if you are looking for a display piece, and almost like to create some kind of a diorama scene, this could be interesting. So I like that Hot Toys does the occasional wacky thing that nobody expected, that nobody doesn't really go in line with anything, because you never know when they might do something that's really interesting. Like, look at the construction Mark III. I have the original version of that. It's an awesome display piece. It's static, but if you have a Tony Stark, you can really make something impressive looking there. So I think this lends itself to that line. Yes, it's a big chunk of plastic, right? I mean, there's no getting around it. So for me, I think this was going to ultimately depend on price. I've seen and credit to Fab's figures, because he was going over the pricing on this. So it looked like this was in the 120 mark, at least direct translation. Obviously, you have to add in taxes, and if you get it from Sideshow, they bump it up as well. So I would hope that this would be under 200. But again, if you're a fan of Darth Maul, if you're a fan of pieces like this that are a little exclusive, the cost is ultimately up to you, what you're willing to stomach. For me, that would be kind of the threshold. I think back, and granted, inflation and age, but the original construction Mark III, and if you remember, the Terminator Salvation line also had a construction T700 torso that was just a diorama piece that was like 100 and I think it was $110 when I got it. So, right, that was much more complex than what we're seeing here. So, um, obviously, I expect things to be a little pricier, but I would hope that it wouldn't be that much pricier. But we'll see. Again, limited to 1,500 pieces. So, I think we just have to wait and see what the ultimate cost is. Am I going to try to get any of these? The only way I'm going to jump into the queue is, I think, if to help somebody who might be looking for one, and if they don't get a chance to get it, then I'll just get in the queue to try to pick it up for them. But otherwise, if everybody's happy and nobody is looking for these, I'm gonna let these slide. Right, they're just not in my wheelhouse at this point, but very interesting. And I think more so, I'm looking forward to what the next wave of releases are. In the past, Hot Toys has done exclusives, but they've also done like five to I want to say 5 to 10 releases, or 5 to 8 releases that were just standard figures, that went up for pre-order immediately around convention season. So hopefully we see something similar yet to come on those. So now that we're done with the Hot Toys wackiness, right? Let's admit it. Some of these are a little interesting, but we're gonna look at so basically, Inart released their Harry Potter unboxing video. Now, what's going to happen is, if trends follow, you're going to start seeing some videos pop up, because you're going to have the famous dreaded influencer batches going out, right? Um, I I'm not, I'm a small channel, so I'm not going to get anything super early. I'd love to, but I'm pretty much just going to wait my turn, right? I also waited until late in the process to order this one. I definitely teetered a little bit with the price point on the Harry Potter, especially given how small of a figure it is, until I finally decided to jump onto the pre-order. So it's going to be a while before I get it, and that's the one thing, right? With Inart, you're going to get the first set of figures getting to the big YouTube channels, which is fine, right? I'm not going to complain about that. As long as I get my figure, that's all that matters. And as long as my figure is as good as those early batches, because we've seen some QA/QC issues from Inart with some of the releases, right? So as long as I get a good figure, I'll wait. That doesn't matter. So I think if trends are right, it'll be anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. Hopefully not 12, but let's say about 6 months before I get this one in hand. But we got the full reveal video, so I want to kind of watch this with you. Let me make sure it's muted so that we can actually hear it. But yeah, let's look at it together. So you get the standard box with the slip tray. It is a pretty significant box, right, when you look at it. So that's the first thing that impresses. Um, this will be my first Inart figure in hand, right, when I do get it. It's a little surprising how small the figure is, right? But that, again, shouldn't, even though I say it's surprising, it shouldn't come as much of a surprise. Look, first impressions, I think it looks pretty decent. Now, I think this is the standard that we're seeing with the sculpted hair. Glasses look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. The books, uh, I'm a sucker for these. I know they're just paper accessories, but I think they did a good job basically recreating those at the scale. The letter, Fabs, my friend Fabs is gonna be saying it's just paper products. He's not wrong, right? But some of these are cool, right? You get the chocolate frog, you get the cards. If you're a fan of the movies, I think you're gonna get a big kick out of what you're getting here, right? With the frogs, the sorcerer's stone, and just all of that. So um look, the hands look good. So this is interesting to me because we know that next Friday J&D Kojin Works is going to launch their three Harry Potter pre-orders. So um it's funny because we're getting in our kind of jump the gun, or not jump the gun, I'm gonna say, but they hit first, right, by releasing theirs and kind of showing, look, ours is there. Although again, the pre-order window is closed. So at this point, if you were gonna get this Harry Potter, you were gonna get him, right? It's not like you can jump in and just say, unless you go to Toys R Us, which I don't recommend you do, right? Stay away. But yeah, yeah. Look, so it's, what's funny? This hair, the molded hair, I don't know. Look, I'll wait to get mine in hand. I got the rooted one, so I'll try to find the video for the rooted actually. Let me pause this. Let me stop sharing really quick and let me try to find the other video for the, here we go, the premium. So let's just bear with me. Because I'll be honest, that I don't know that that looked that good, right? Let's check. Let's mute it and let's go back a little bit. So this is the premium version, which is the one I got. And the reason I ended up getting this one was more because of the backdrop. Um, I can already tell the box looks a little bit bigger. So first impression on the head sculpt on the sculpted one wasn't necessarily the best, to be honest. I do like the big display stand, although it's going to take up a premium amount of space in the display. But I did want to get the full set, right? And the diorama piece again, that's kind of the critical part with the Gryffindor backdrop and the Hogwarts kind of the exterior of the Hogwarts castle. So I do like the accessories. I know again they're not much to discuss, right? Um, Again, if you're a fan of the movie, kind of makes sense. Um, Look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very much looking forward to getting these in hand. All right, so the work that they did on the robes, that looks pretty impressive. Hands look okay. I think the J&D one of the first comments that I saw a lot of people on the prototype they were showing is that the hands seem a little oversized. Um, there's no prototype yet, so we'll see. But look, this is all about the outfit, right? The cloak looks great. I love the detail on the badge, the Gryffindor badge on the crest on the robe. But again, if you've collected other six scale products, and I'm going to throw Damn Toys in there. Damn Toys has done a lot of that on their figures. That's really impressive. So I don't know that I'm blown away, but I do think the display pieces, the dioramas are pretty impressive and they're pretty massive. I think the head sculpt actually looks pretty good. Um, Definitely, I think the rooted hair in this one was the way to go, as opposed to the sculpted. I'm looking forward to seeing people with the sculpted in hand, but I think that looks pretty impressive. Look, we know this is costly, right? This was coming in at about almost 600 for the full set, but J&D's charging $1,000 more for theirs. I don't know what they're going to include in theirs to make it worth it. So we'll see on Friday the 26th when they finally release all their prototype pictures, or probably the day earlier. So I'll make a video for that as well. But um, look, at first look, this looks pretty decent. And if you're a fan of that IP, I'm looking forward to it. So I think the only thing I have to say is hopefully it's not a 6 month wait, or hopefully it's just a 6 month wait, because I am prepared to wait up to a year. I know that's what happened with the Joker. People were still waiting to get it a year out. I know that's what happened with Gandalf. You know, people are still getting it. The Batman literally, right? I think the first influencer batches went out a month or two ago. So here we are 2 months out, and people are just starting to get theirs as well. So it's going to be a bit of a wait. But look, at first glance, I think that looks pretty good. And now I'm curious what J&D is going to respond to, because again, at the price point they're going to be charging for their premium, you would have to offer a ton of really impressive looking extras to at least come close to what Inart is doing. So I'm a little more curious about the Kojin Light line, which is supposed to be a much more affordable line of figures. If that one can come close to what this Inart one looks like, then maybe we can talk about that. But look, first opinion, it looks pretty decent. Um, I'm excited to get it in hand, not because it's Inart, but just because it's a character and a series that I like. So I'm looking forward to getting the figures from the line. And I'm hoping they go long enough to get to that Snape figure, right? Because that would be one of the favorites, that one and Dumbledore. But look, that was pretty much it for this week's news stories. Not much. Again, I think it's just we're getting into exclusive season. And next week is Comic Con. So while I'm not expecting a lot of figure news per se, but I'll be surprised, right? I wouldn't be surprised with getting a bunch of Comic Con convention exclusives. But while I'm not expecting much in terms from Hot Toys, um, we'll see. I am expecting a lot of news, right? Marvel's going to have a presentation at Hall H. They're going to have two. Plus, Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out. So by the time I film this next week, I'll have seen the movie. So I'm not going to spoil it for anybody because I don't want to do that. But um, maybe I'll have a spoiler section in the video just to tell you my thoughts about what figures are coming. But hopefully it'll be a good response. I think it will be. But that's pretty much it. And then as far as what's coming to the channel, I do have that third party Khonshu figure from Moon Knight, which first pictures coming are starting to drop and it looks great. And then I did finally order the Thor deluxe version from Thor Love and Thunder, so psyched to get that. Black Panther finally shipped, which for some reason I paid it off a while and then it was stuck in that sideshow thing queue where it just never ships. So it finally looks like it's shipping. And then I got my invoice for the XO6 Star Trek Strange New World Spock. So hopefully those figures are incoming. And then just a bunch of delays. I think we all got hit with them. My She-Hulk got delayed. Mighty Thor got delayed. Kang, the Mark 6 with Gantry, the two Avatar figures, right? Jake Sully and Natiri. Um, it's part of the game, right? So, but anyway, there'll be more videos dropping next week, hopefully. And whatever happens, we'll be in touch. But as always, thanks for watching. And if you are enjoying the content, please consider dropping a like, comment, or subscribing. And we'll touch base on the next video.